So we are in a special period. You know, when you think of it, the pandemic really changed things dramatically. There are different views on whether the major central banks hesitated, waited too long, and then perhaps overreacted. My own view is that in this complexity of it, that actually the central banks, meaning the Fed, European Central Bank, but others as well, we're cautious. I think they correctly highlighted that they are analyzing the situation, that they are actually aware of the fact that there is a spike of inflation. Some people say they waited too long. I think that that's debatable. But they certainly acted decisively afterwards and have managed to bring the inflationary bout down quite fast. So I think that overall, if we take a medium to long-term view where the central bank should keep price stability. Some of them, of course, also are looking at economic performance in terms of GDP and unemployment. But if they are sort of focusing on it in medium term, they did pretty well because with an unexpected jump in inflation and with a little bit of delay, they actually came in and managed to subside the stem inflation. So the big question, of course, is how should other countries, emerging markets in particular, behave and react to the situation that is increased uncertainty of all types. And I think many of them have correctly increased their reserves. So the central banks have reacted by being less vulnerable. Of course, you never know how much is enough, but they have been reacting, I think, very judiciously. I organize with my colleagues at Columbia every year a seminar, a symposium of the governors of emerging markets, and Boris Vujicic, governor of Central Bank of Croatia, comes regularly to it, where we discuss these issues. And so people from Latin America, Eastern, Central Eastern, Southeastern Europe, as well as Asia and Africa consult. And I would say that the governors are now much more in unison. They really are realizing that the effects, the shocks can be substantial, and that together with fiscal policies and fiscal stance of their governments, that the central banks actually can play a very substantial role in insulating the countries from the major shocks. So I think that here, speaking of transition economies for a moment, what we see is that they have in some sense adjusted admirably, going from the previous regime, which varied from very centralized planning to something like the Yugoslav-style self-management, to adopting most of the features of the Western European type economies. And I think that some have gone further. Croatia, Slovakia, the Baltic republics being the first to, Slovenia join the Eurozone. So they have, I would say, adjusted completely. Others have have been waiting. And there we have varying performance. So for instance, one is very impressed with Poland, which has been growing fast, major transformations, building infrastructure, highways, and so on. Warsaw is a modern city with skyscrapers. So one cannot say that those who have waited a bit in joining Europe in all aspects, including the monetary policy and adherence to the Eurozone, that they did worse. But on the whole, I would say entering Euro has been beneficial for the countries that did. And the fact that Bulgaria is now following the suit of Croatia and joining, and others, I think, will follow afterwards. I think that we see a very good structural adjustment in all these economies, both in the industrial, if you want, private sector side, but also in terms of government policies.